Hi, my name is Gary Dillon, and this is my Module 5 city project, Sustainable Urbanism for Christchurch, New Zealand. Christchurch, New Zealand has grown a lot in the last few decades. It's the oldest city in New Zealand. It was the first city founded. It was established in 1856. Back then, it only had a population of around 3,000. Today, it has a population of over 384,000, making it the second largest city in New Zealand. Um, a lot of new housing is being built. Unfortunately, it's being built on the outskirts of the city, contributing to urban sprawl, which is a big issue in relation to sustainable growth. That's not how you want to plan a city. You want to plan it with density in mind. That way, you preserve things like biodiversity. The development taking place on the outskirts of Christchurch has been what's known as greenfield development. Greenfield development is the opposite of brownfield development, which is good, which is what we like to see in urban planning. Greenfield development is development of land that hasn't been built upon yet. Like brownfield development is like where you start developing an area that was previously like a factory or a former office building or any kind of old building. You're repurposing it, renovating it, reusing old land that was previously just sitting there. So you're getting good land use out of it with density in mind. It's already in an area where people are living. Um, Greenfield development, on the other hand, is an issue because it takes away farmland and reduces biodiversity. Food prices are already up pretty high. I'm sure that's something we all notice when we go to the grocery store. And taking away farmland to build what's usually like single family home developments, like sort of like those cookie cutter new development homes that you see springing up in like what was previously empty land. I see it outside of like in the Philadelphia suburbs all the time. And those kinds of houses, they're single family homes, they're on large lots, so it's not the best use of land. They'll have a front yard, a backyard, driveway. It's a lot of space that's just being used that housing could otherwise be built upon. So I think that sustainable growth is an issue that Christchurch has to deal with to make sure that urban sprawl doesn't get out of control, to maintain biodiversity and keep farmland. The urban fabric of Christchurch is probably defined most notably by its parks. It has a lot of parks. One of the oldest parks, if not the oldest, is Hagley Park. It was established in 1855. It's right in the downtown city center of Christchurch, sort of like Christchurch's kind of Central Park. It's pretty big. It's 75 acres, which is a nice sized park for downtown. Uh, Hagley Park was hosting an international fair, and there was some British government official there. It was in 1906. And the British government official said, "Hey, this city has a lot of great parks. It reminds me of the garden cities that Ebenezer Howard did work upon in England," and said that Christchurch reminded him a lot of those garden cities. The name kind of stuck. Christchurch has a lot of parks, so Christchurch is referred to sort of as the garden city of New Zealand. As such, parks are very important, and Christchurch's city council is working to improve upon them. One of the ways that they're doing that is there's a brook in Hagley Park called Addington Brook, um, and they're working to sort of increase drainage and sort of make it so that that park is more sustainable. By increasing drainage, they sort of make it so they reduce flood hazards, and they're naturalizing the brook in a way that they're trying to return it to sort of its natural form or as close to it as they can, which is impressive considering it's located in a really busy urban center. They're also working on things like improving the landscaping, which will also help with drainage, and it will, just overall improve the health of the stream. They're also working on putting in a filtration system upstream because Addington Brook passes through an industrial area which pollutes the water, and that filtration system will increase the water health by reducing the pollutants. Also, Christchurch has a resiliency plan in place already, but I think it could be improved upon by sort of incentivizing building owners to add what's known as EBFs. EBFs it stands for electronically braced frame, and they already have them on, they already have a lot of buildings in Christchurch, newer buildings that have concrete frames, and have steel frames, and the older buildings have concrete frames. The newer buildings have steel frames, the old buildings have concrete frames. Well, when the earthquakes happened in 2010 and 2011 in Christchurch, 1,600 buildings had to be demolished, and steel frame buildings fared way better than concrete buildings because they're just much more structurally sound. And I think that part of the resiliency plan could be sort of incentivizing building owners to install these things called electronically braced frames, which make buildings with concrete frames much more safer. That way, if/when you do have another earthquake on the scale of 2010 and 2011, you won't have nearly as much damage. You won't have to demolish all these buildings. You'll save people's lives. It'll just make the city much more resilient. So you could incentivize building owners to implement these EBFs, and that would improve upon Christchurch's existing resiliency plan. For example, the tallest building in Christchurch, the Pacific Tower, is 23 stories tall, and it only had one steel link break, which is pretty impressive considering it's the biggest building. And during 2 earthquakes, it only had one small structural failure. So, yeah, I believe that was everything. Thank you.